What is the greatest? F it. I'll do it myself in history. Juan Pujol Garcia was a Spaniard who created his own counterintelligence operation for the Allies during WW2. Initially, he approached British and American intelligence to offer them his services, but both countries rebuffed him. Undeterred, Garcia created a fictional persona as a pro-fascist Spanish official and got himself recruited by the Nazis, who directed him to travel to Britain to recruit agents. Instead, Garcia created a network of fictitious agents and sub-agents using publicly available information like newspapers and travel brochures. It was at this point that he again contacted Allied intelligence, and he was finally recruited. Garcia continued his work throughout the war, and for the same operation, he received both a knighthood from the British and the Iron Cross from Nazi Germany. The Nazis never realized that he was a double agent. Nobody ever expects the Spanish in deception. Yes, in the lead up to Overlord he confirmed reports that the Allied attack would come from Dover and wouldn't attack Normandy. Then, at the last moment he confirmed that the Allies in fact would attack Normandy. But it was too late for the Nazis to act on it. So afterwards the Nazis still trusted him, as they would point to him and say he was the only one who predicted the Normandy invasion. It was technical issues, as always, that meant the data got to us late. And supposedly this was one of the most important pieces of deception leading up to Overlord. That's incredible. He was just some guy who knew evil when he saw it and wanted to FK it up. Just some unimportant, unremarkable guy who saw the bad guys getting ahead and threw a wrench in their operation in the vain stupid hope that it would slow them down. And it did at the most important possible moment. In 1947 a guy named Thor Heyerdahl was trying to prove his theory that the Polynesian islands were settled by people from South America, not Asia. Nobody believed him because it was thought that crossing such a large ocean with the technology they had back then was impossible. So he decides to build a boat using only the tools and materials available at the time these migrations took place. And then he sailed that boat across the Pacific Ocean, nearly dying in the process, but ultimately making it to the Polynesian islands. For context, the voyage was 4,340 miles, nearly 7,000 kilometers, and took 101 days. Here's a pic of the raft they built and sailed on. The original raft can be seen at the awesome Kon-Tiki Museum in Oslo, Norway. How TF do you guys know so many things? Heyerdahl is basically a Norwegian national treasure. I moved to the US from Norway when I was 13 and lived there for 2 years. Once in history class we had to choose between a list of subjects to write an essay on, and I found the Kon-Tiki expedition on that list. I think that's the only essay I've ever gotten an A+ on. I had a few of his books already, but not the Kon-Tiki one, and I couldn't find it in the school or public library. So I wrote to the Kon-Tiki Museum for some information. They forwarded the email to Thor Heyerdahl, and he personally responded to me answering all my questions and giving me personal quotes to use in my essay. Then he sent me copies of his books that I was missing through snail mail, all from his personal library, all signed and personalized to me. Maurice Heilmann invented over 40 vaccines during his career in the pharmaceutical industry. In 1963 his oldest daughter caught the mumps. He cultured a sample from her, developed a vaccine, and injected it into his younger daughter. That vaccine is still in use and has saved millions of lives. In total, it's estimated that his work has saved 118 million lives globally. Nikola Tesla was tasked with lighting up the World's Fair, but Thomas Edison wouldn't allow him to use any of his patents, so Tesla had to invent a new light bulb that didn't use any of Edison's patents and could still have thousands made in time for the event. Tesla was definitely one of the most underrated geniuses of his time. I believe he died penniless in 1943, in love with a pigeon. Jon Snow, not that one, the father of epidemiology. No one believed him that the cholera outbreak in what is now Soho was because of a contaminated water pump. He broke it. They arrested him for vandalism and held him until the outbreak suddenly ended. Edit, corrected the location. Jon Snow's entire life story is a series of FK it, I'll do it myself moments. From his mother getting the money to send him to school, to basically the entirety of his work against cholera, because all his life it was always you know nothing. Jon Snow. Otis invented pretty much what we consider the modern elevator. Nobody was convinced it was safe, so he hoisted himself up extremely high and had somebody cut the cable with an axe to prove how confident he was that the elevator was safe regardless of almost worst case scenarios. Otis UK are based in Reading. When they answer the phone they say hello, Otis Reading. In the UK telecoms giant Siemens has an HQ in Staines. Do's what they say when they answer the phones. Perhaps when no one believed Barry Marshall that H. pylori can cause stomach ulcers, so he thought screw it, I'll test it on myself, and ended up getting the Nobel Prize. Edit. Wow, I did not expect this to get so many upvotes. Also thank you folks for the Bo Awards. However, I feel it's necessary to point out that Robin Warren, the co-winner of the Nobel Prize, has actually done most of the work for the discovery, but Marshall got all the attention because of doing this. Thank you u/Raymeal01 for reminding us. The doctor stationed in Antarctica that removed his own appendix. Got him. Wasn't that more like, FK me, I have to do it myself. Brian Acton interviewed at Facebook and got turned down. He said FK'd and built WhatsApp. Several years later, Facebook bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. Edit. Here is his tweet from 2009, the day he interviewed. I'm getting this framed for my desk at work. Cliff Stahl, the cuckoo's egg, noticed weird traffic on his university servers. No one believed him that there was any risk occurring. Ended up uncovering a major hacking attempt to steal missile designs and basically created internet security. I think it was missile designs. It's been a long time. In 1888, Alman Brown Strowger, an undertaker, noticed he was losing a lot of business to the other undertaker in town. He found out that the other undertaker's wife was a telephone operator, and when she intercepted people asking to be connected to Strowger's funeral home, the operator would route the call to her husband's funeral home instead. 3 years later, Strowger patented the automatic teller exchange, a system which allowed telephone users to make calls without the need for human operators, single-handedly destroying an entire workforce. James Clerk Maxwell was idolized by Einstein as being the father of modern physics. Not only did he formulate the classical theory of electromagnetic radiation, but just for shits and giggles he calculated exactly what Saturn's rings were made from using pure mathematics. It wasn't until Voyager 1 and 2 passed by and took photos in the early 80s did we get confirmation that Maxwell was right. He then calculated how to take a color photograph in 1855. This was then achieved in 1861 and is recognized as the first ever color photograph. Probably the time Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa decided they couldn't wait around any longer and legged it for 10 days across the Andes with no warm clothes, climbing gear, or food except some scraps of their dead friends stuffed into a sock. They finally found someone out in the middle of nowhere, Sergio Catalan, who rode horseback all night and then took a bus to get some help. The mountain climbers had come from the wreckage of a crashed plane that everyone had been looking for over 2 MOs. They needed help for the other survivors who were injured and starving. They saved 14 of their friends. Henry VIII couldn't get his way with the Pope, so he made the Church of England so he could do what he wanted. This man legit made his own damn religion, which millions still follow today, just so he could cheat on his wife. Edit. He was already cheating on his wife. He wanted to divorce her to marry his mistress. Jonas Salk needed human subjects to test his polio vaccine. That's normally a long process and he wanted to make the vaccine available as quick as possible, so he just experimented on himself. He also didn't patent the polio vaccine, I believe, and he tried to help fight the AIDS epidemic even before he died. It's gotta be Amo Koivunen. He was a Finnish soldier in the Second World War. When the Finns were trying to reclaim land from the Soviets, he got separated from his unit mid-war in the middle of nowhere. He was the one tasked to carry the drugs they held in case of injury or tiredness, one of which was Pervitin, which was literal meth in a tablet form. Instead of just taking 1 or 2, he downed the whole bottle and went on a weeks-long methed-up rampage. He got hit by a landmine, evaded Soviet soldiers, caught a bird, and ate it raw. All while on skis he finally made it back to finish lines where on arrival, he weighed only 90 pounds or so and had a heart rate of 200 beats per minute. He ended up living for another 45 years. Edit. Here's an article if you want to read more and see a pic of his unyielding stare. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments under the video, write what is the greatest FK it, I'll do it myself in history, and also do not forget to watch our other videos. Bye.